guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I am really excited because I am bringing you another recommendation video. In this one, I have been anticipating all month. I'm really excited about it. It is teacher-student romances. I love me a teacher-student romance. I love that forbidden aspect of it, and it typically is paired with my favorite trope, which is age gap. And I don't know. I've been into teacher student this year, and I've got a small list of recommendations for you. But because I love this trope so much, I have a list that I am continuing to read. So with that being said, I do hope to bring you a part 2 in the near future. But let's go ahead and get started with today's list. Now, I do want to say that there are a couple repeats from my age gap romance that I did earlier. I will leave it in a card for you and also down in the description box if you're interested in that as well. But they do bear repeating because they do have that teacher-student aspect to them, and frankly, they were that good. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the recommendations. Okay, so the first book that I want to recommend today is Loving Mr. Daniels by Brittainy C. Cherry. This follows Ashlyn and Daniel, aka Mr. Daniels. This book is super angsty and super emotional. Ashlyn and Daniel are dealing with tragedies of their own when they first meet, and their connection that they have, that instant connection that they have, kind of finds them, lending to them kind of taking solace in one another. And the first encounter that they have is filled with unbelievable chemistry, and that kind of brings like a promise of things to come, like good things to start turning around for them, and it's almost too good to be true. And it is, because when Ashlyn starts her new school, she realizes that this amazing man that she just met is actually her teacher. Now, there isn't too much of an age gap here because Ashlyn has been dealing with some medical issues, and because of such, she was held back a year. So she started her senior year as a 19-year-old, and I believe that Daniel is like 3, maybe 4 years older than her. So there isn't much of a difference in age. However, it's the teacher-student aspect. That's the forbidden aspect of it. That's what we're here for. And because of their first meeting, this is obviously very heartbreaking for both of them. They didn't see this coming. This kind of blindsided them. But you find yourself rooting for these two. They obviously are meant to be together. You want them to be together. It's very much a right person, wrong time aspect to it as well. Now, this isn't as steamy as some of the other books on this list. However, it is beautifully written. There is a lot of tragedy, but it is a very powerful book, and I absolutely recommend it if you're looking for a teacher-student romance that takes you on a bit of a journey. It absolutely does, but it is definitely a book to read. The next book I have for you is Waking Olivia by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is more of an athlete-coach romance, but it still has that teacher-student aspect, so it's on the list. This is also another small age gap. Now, I was not expecting this book to have such serious underlying tones when I went into it, but it has you rooting for Olivia from the very start. She comes off as a bit of a hard ass and someone that people just really don't want to be around, but you very quickly realize that this is a coping mechanism for the trauma that she has endured in her younger life. And we pick up the story where she has just been kicked out of her Division I college for fighting, where she is a long distance track star. She basically has no other option, so she actually accepts a scholarship to a lower division college. And I honestly, I can't remember, but I don't even think that they rank. I think that they're really excited to have her because this won't be the first year that they actually rank in competitions. And that brings us to Will, who is the assistant coach, and the coach that Olivia really wants to train with is actually the coach for the boys team, and Will is the coach for the girls team. And Will does not really want anything to do with her because he sees her as a bad egg. She fights a lot. She's got a bad attitude. She doesn't have team spirit. It's going to be bad all around for his team and the camaraderie that he's trying to build here. So this is very much an enemies to friends to lovers. Now, like I said, Will does not like Olivia at first. He doesn't want her on the team. But when he starts to see certain things come out in Olivia and certain truths happen, he realizes very quickly that things are not what they seem, and that he has this really intense pull to want to help her. And he's walking a fine line because he knows that this could potentially get him into trouble. He needs this job. He needs this coaching job because his dad has recently passed away, and Will takes it upon himself to be the provider for his mom and his little brother and to continue the family farm. So he's got this pressure on him that I have to succeed because I have to provide for my family, and me helping her could potentially jeopardize that because I need this job to provide for my family. But the need to help Olivia and help her overcome the problems that she has is just too great. He just finds himself needing to cross that line. Now, another thing that I really loved about this is that found family aspect. I really loved Will's mom. She was one of my favorite side characters in this story. But I will tell you that these two, like, I could not put this book down. It was just so good. And the more you get into it, the more you just, I think you have to know what's going to happen with Olivia, and then there's like this pretty good twist that comes around, and it is really good. I highly recommend this one if you're looking for a teacher-student romance, not too big of an age gap, and some pretty decent steamy scenes as well. Totally recommend it. Next, I have Lessons in Corruption by Giana Darling. This was a fun read. This follows Cressida and King, and I enjoyed this one because it's the reverse of what we normally see. Cressida is the teacher, and King is the student. There is a bit of an insta-love vibe here because Cressida literally walks out of a grocery store and sees King from across the parking lot and basically falls in love with him, goes home and asks her husband for a divorce. Not even having spoken to King, mind you. I mean, she doesn't even realize who it is. She just sees this man and falls in love and is like, I am going to go ask for a divorce. Now, I think like in the span of I just fell in love with a stranger from across the street, she realizes like I'm not happy. I am not happy with my life. I have a husband who I basically was groomed from birth who just doesn't do it for me. She wants to explore things in life, and sexually. She just wants a lot of things out of life, and her husband doesn't want any of that. He is like twice her age as well, but she even says it herself, like her life, all aspects of it is very vanilla, and Cressida just wants more. She wants more. So she asks for a divorce and moves right outside of the town where she's actually teaching. Now with this, because it is reversed, I did have to keep reminding myself that King is actually younger than Cressida, and I think he is about like 8 years younger. But King is so incredibly mature for his age, and Cressida, because she has been sheltered by that older husband, is kind of just now growing up because she's not under the rule of her husband, who is very, I have to have dinner on a table at a certain time, and you have to be home by a certain time, and I just want you to be home so that you can cater to my every whim. And because she's able to start living for the first time in her life, she takes those liberties. So yeah, King is a little bit more mature. King also grew up within an MC club. His father is the president of the local MC chapter there. They live right outside, I believe it's like a small town right outside of Vancouver. So, I mean, King's been embedded in that life his entire life. He is not inducted into the MC group just yet, and he's not even quite for sure if like that's what he wants to do with his life, but they are his family. He's know nothing but that, so he is very much a part of that group. Now this is a little bit more on the steamy charts than the first two books that I recommended for you. Cressida finally is able to explore that sexuality that she wanted to, and King is only too happy to oblige her. These two have an instant connection, and although Cressida tries to fight it, King is just basically like, you're it for me. I want you, and I'm pretty sure you want me. So, I mean, that's it. Like, let's just call it what it is. You're my chick. I'm your guy. Let's, I mean, what do you want? What do you want? We're going to do this. We're going to do this. I did really enjoy this book, and I plan on continuing with the series. And so I know within the next companion novel that I will get a glimpse of Cressida and King and see like kind of where they're at. But I definitely recommend if you like teacher-student and you've got that reverse role here, you also have MC and you have a little bit more kink. So if you know me, then you knew that this was coming, and let's just get it over with. Because here it is, the Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. We have balance, and execution and release and twist. And then the fifth one is dismount, which I just don't have right now. But yes, I recommend this. Now, this is essentially another athlete, coach, sports romance, but teacher, student. So there you go. It fits. We're talking about it. I mean, at this point, does the series really need any introduction on my channel? I don't think so, but here we go. You have Adriana Rossi or Rhea, and you have Konstantin Kornikova or Coach Kova. Adriana is 16 years old, and her #1 goal is to be an American Olympic gymnast. Now, where she is in her current gym and her current practices, she is basically capped out. She's hit the glass ceiling. There is nowhere for her to go. She needs more. She needs more of a coach. And one of her father's best friends just happens to be an Olympic coach. So he calls his friend. Adriana moves to the town where this gym is, and she starts a new regiment. And so they start their teacher-student relationship. There is a little bit of tension between these two. It's almost like Koba doesn't want Rhea there. I think that he thinks that she is very flippant about the sport and just really has this high hope and these high dreams that are just not going to come to fruition. She maybe thinks that she's better than she really is, but as he starts to teach her and train her and show her the ways that he coaches, he realizes that these two have the same, like they're on the same wavelength when it comes to gymnastics, and they form this connection. They form such an immense connection that they literally can have a conversation with just looking at each other. One of my favorite lines in the series is, "I exhale, you inhale." They are just a force to be reckoned with, and I loved watching them when they were competing. They are amazing off the mat, but on the mat, their relationship takes on this completely new essence, and I mean, it's an amazing thing to watch. Gymnastics is very heavy in this series, so you will learn a lot about gymnastics. If you don't know anything about gymnastics, you will by the time that the series is completely over with. But to watch the transformation of Rhea from the very beginning in balance all the way to dismount, and to watch her character grow, because I'm going to admit, like, she irritated the shit out of me multiple times. But then I realized, like, you're just showing your age. You're 16 years old. He's 32. They have this chemistry that they shouldn't have, but there's just no denying the connection that these two have. It's palpable. Like you feel it when you're reading it. It's all around. Like, it consumes you. It is no surprise that this is one of my favorite series, and I will recommend it until I'm blue in the face, and then I will continue to recommend it. I highly, highly recommend this series if you're looking for a roller coaster. Extremely, extremely steamy scenes. They're phenomenal. They're top notch. Lucia knows what she's doing when she writes these scenes. So there you go for that. He is her father's best friend, and it's angsty. It is angsty, but it is well worth it. They are pretty big books, but I'm telling you, like, you don't realize how big they are whenever you are reading them. They're just amazing. That's all I can really say. I recommend picking this up immediately. Next, I have Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin, and this, again, was another one of my age gap recommendations. This follows Tinsley and Father Magnus. That's right. I said Father Magnus. Yes, let me finish though. Okay, so now Father Magnus is a bit of a hard ass and a grumpy man. He runs the private school that Tinsley's mother forces her to attend, and neither are happy about it. Tinsley is on a mission to get kicked out of this private school because she wants to go back home. She does not want to be here at all, so she's going to do everything in her power to get kicked out so she can go back home. And Father Magnus just does not like her. He's just like, I don't want to have to deal with another spoiled, rich bitch who thinks that I'm just going to cater to her every whim. That is not going to happen, and I'm going to put her in her place. I'm going to knock her down a peg and wipe that smirk off her face. Now, Father Magnus has not always been a priest. He actually became a priest when he was 31 years old after some events in his own life. But he has always been involved in the church throughout his life some way or another. But at 31, he decides to devote his life to the church and his faith completely. And it's sort of an atonement for his actions and a way to keep himself away from temptation. But then enters Tinsley. The connection that these two have is extreme. Tinsley tests Magnus at every level, and Magnus fights to regain control over his emotions and his desires, and he doesn't really understand why Tinsley is having the effect that she is on him. Now, Pam Godwin pushes the boundaries with this book, and that's absolutely what I loved about it. I loved watching these two stories unfold while they're fighting to hold on to this love and this connection that they have for one another, and they do have to fight for it. I think that I liked it this much because of the connection that they had, and there is that big, huge taboo aspect to it, but if you can get beyond that, I think that you will really enjoy the story. I thought it was amazing. The spice and the smut and the steam and all that, it's top notch. It is very good. So staying with Pam Godwin, I have to talk about Dark Notes. This is a little bit darker than Lessons in Sin, but oh my god, it was so good. I think I basically devoured this in one sitting. It was amazing. It is a dual POV, and it follows Ivory and Emmerich. There is about a 10-year age gap, and it deals with sexual abuse and BDSM, specifically sub and dom relationships. So we have Ivory, who lost her father at a pretty young age, and her life took a drastic turn in the worst possible ways after this happened. However, before her father passed, he was able to secure her tuition to a private school in a very affluent neighboring town, where she would be able to practice and hone her skills as a piano player. And she is pretty much a genius when it comes to the piano. When the book starts, she's really excited. She is in her last year of school, but her favorite teacher has been replaced with a new teacher, which brings us to Emmerich. Now, Ivory's ideals of men and sex and relationships are heavily skewed due to the circumstances her life took whenever her father passed. She does have a brother, and her mother is still around, but they are basically worthless. They almost resent her because her father loved her more, so they kind of ignore her. They ignore her. What I really enjoyed was when Emmerich came in, him thinking that she is a part of that affluent community that her school is in, not realizing that she is, basically grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, so to speak. And so he comes in, realizes very quickly that this harsh and dark exterior is basically a mask that she puts on to hide the truth of what is going on and all the pain that she's enduring. And she responds to him, and she responds to his fetishes. And so their relationship blossoms from there. I loved watching Ivory kind of come out of her shell and start to grow as a woman and realize that love is completely different than what she thought it was. It has a completely different face than what she thought. And all of this because of this dom-sub relationship that her and Emmerich have. I truly believe that she was able to kind of break out of her shell and test her boundaries and test her power within this safe environment and a safe relationship that they have created together. It was really interesting to watch her kind of gain this power that she never had before. She was able to yield this power that Emmerich was giving her, even though she was essentially the sub to his dom. She was able to open up. She was able to explore, and she ultimately saw that she is worth way more than people in her life were allowing her to believe that she was. Yes, this is the darkest book that I have on this list, but the message, the power, the love that this book portrays is what solidified it for me. Well, that's it. Those are my recommendations for teacher-student romances. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I do plan on doing a part 2 at some point because I just love teacher-student romances. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already, because why the hell not? Until next time, happy reading. Bye.